First job as a teacher at a high school in a rural town of about 1,000 people in total. The school has not been updated since the building was constructed in the late 40s. The town has a history of mountain men folklore and blue-collar lifestyle. Being a first-year teacher, I was swamped with work. I was staying late at school to grade and prep. It's about 10 p.m. or so. I am sitting in the school library by myself with all of the lights off, except for a few to work by. I feel creeped out by the scenario, but I keep it up. I print off some copies. I head out into the hall to get to the printer. I hit all the lights in sequence to light my way. I grab papers. I plan out my escape to hit the lights behind me so I am never standing alone in the darkness in this big empty school. I realize I left my bag downstairs in the science lab. I am done for the night, but I need that bag. I take my chances and run to the end of the hall in complete darkness. I hit the lights to the stairwell and bound downstairs. I get into the lab and grab my bag. I shut the door behind me. I hear what sounds like a help that sounds like it's coming from inside the room. I do a double take and look through the window into the lab. I see a small light was left on, illuminating exactly one desk in that room. I don't remember hitting a switch for that side of the room. Nope. I rush up the stairs, flip the switches off, and fly out of the front door of the school. I go to bed shaking. I come in the next day to realize I left the front doors to the school completely unlocked, so I was scared. Nobody says anything to me. I just go about my day and do not say a word. I stop into science lab to see what switch went to that light. Not a single one turns on, only that one light. The teacher in my room tells me she found a bunch of items on the floor that she remembered putting on her desk before she left. Asks me if I know anything about it. I shake my head no and just leave. I never stay late to work at school ever again. Toward the end of the year, I shit you not, the superintendent told me that there was a fire in the school science lab 60 years prior where a young student was killed. Proof. I cannot find the newspaper article online, but the town website mentions the fire. Here is the link. Teacher from earlier back again. I do have another school haunted work story if you guys are interested. Still teaching at a small school in a rural town. It is December time. It is snowing like crazy and it is nighttime. There is terrible service in my apartment, so I take a walk across the street to the school, which happens to be on top of a hill looking down the valley that gets exceptional service. I am standing in the parking lot, freezing my ass off and chatting with GF. The snow is falling like crystals. It's really pretty. Not wanting to be cold, but not wanting to go into school at night because afraid of what I experienced last time. Tuck into corner of building outside and below window. Phone call is getting static. Tell GF I'm getting off the line. I hang up, and about this time, I swear I still hear the static. The whole location is dead silent except for the sound. I don't want to do it, but I step out anyway to peek inside the window of the school. Say nothing. Phew. I start walking back home. I am halfway across the lot when I hear static again. I turn back to look at the school. There are 2 small lights turned on, the same rooms that were haunted last time. There are no cars in the lot. I was near the only entrance to school. Whoever turned them on had to be in the school in the dark for the past hour or so. The lights flicker on and off, like they're signaling me. Nope. I rush back home. This is the second to last time I ever go back at night. Last at school at night story. GF at the time is visiting my apartment. It is cold and snowy. It's still December time. I nuzzle up close for warmth and we start getting frisky. GF suggests we go into the school at night to have sex. Always wanted to have sex in a classroom, but know how ridiculously afraid I am of that school at nighttime. Can't be a wuss in front of GF though, so I agree to let her in. GF is really cocky once we get inside. She does not know my stories. Get her into my classroom and within minutes we are fooling around. Only light is the moonlight coming in through the classroom windows. Sexy, I know. Finish and clean up. On our way out of the door, I'm surprised nothing happened. Ask GF if she wants something from the teacher's room fridge. We store drinks and treats there. She responds, but does not follow me. Walk out of lounge and I can't find her. I search everywhere upstairs. She is nowhere to be found. I get really worried, so I shout, but hear no response. I go downstairs. Nothing. I am freaking out now. I rush outside and run around the building. My GF is huddled in the bushes as far from school as possible. She is shaking. I'm like, what's wrong? I was scared about you. She told me she wandered the hallway after I left the room to see the rest of the school. She got to the middle of the hallway and stopped when she saw the silhouette of a person rushing through the door and downstairs. She bolted when the door opened on its own and heard a slam downstairs. We never talk about my school or my job ever again. Actually, one more, somewhat related. Last 2 months at the teaching job. Working summer program, teaching environmental summer camp. The town is in an uproar because a local girl went missing. The police are all over town asking questions. All of the parents and kids are on edge. I am having the kids play in a stream, looking for crayfish and other things. The water is extremely cold that day. One of the kids finds a section of brick red clay and starts playing in it. The sediment is normally a dark black color, but don't think anything of it. I show the kids the clay and find it is covering the whole section of the stream, and we have a good time learning about clay. I take my older students to just under the town bridge and go fishing. Kids keep hearing splashing and what sounds like yelping from the water. Just the current and echoes of traffic above our heads is what I tell them. I go back to my apartment that night and have nightmares. I have trouble sleeping. I keep hearing people outside my apartment, mostly a man arguing with a young girl. It's so late, I don't even bother, as it just sounds like she is a tween that got into trouble. The next day I am back at the stream with my campers, when one of the fathers rushes down and grabs his 2 kids, says they are leaving immediately. My aide suggests that maybe we should leave. I get back to school and find police are overloading the place. They found the missing body of the girl under the bridge in the water. The girl had been there for at least a week. The body was bloated and near frozen. The organs had burst from her body and scattered downstream. My face went. I was having students play in the same water right near where she died. My face went. I heard the arguing outside and had nightmares after doing this. My face went. The red clay shook me the fuck up. When I was young, around 6 years old, my family was very wealthy and tied to many influential people and families. At the time, my dad needed a place to stay out of town while on a business trip. We, being me and my mother, ended up going along. I won't disclose where for personal reasons. On with it. My father was allowed to stay in one of his friend's pieces of property. In short, this place was huge, a literal fortress, a mansion, whatever you want to call it. However, there were no maids or servants, leaving our family to tend for ourselves while we were there. When exploring the house, I remember finding a crawl space, like 3 feet by 3 feet up this spiral stairwell that led into some sort of watchtower / closet bedroom setup. It's a tough room to describe, but I can try to paint it with words. The spiral stairwell was about 20 steps in total, and it went straight up, already at the top of the building, or near it, so I thought at the time. When I got to the top, I entered a small room with another room, set up as almost a walk-in closet. Behind some boxes was the crawl space, which had a padlock on it. The padlock at the time was unlocked. I look back on it now, and realized nobody was probably supposed to find this in the house, but me being adventurous, I stumbled upon it. Upon nearing the door, I remember feeling calm, as if it was welcoming, when in reality, it was just a white wooden panel in the wall that was movable, though it felt like so much more. I had to see what was on the other side. So I opened it, and to this day, I don't know what it was, but something, it just blurs my memory of the room. I have no recollection of even crawling through the hole in the wall, or what I saw when I immediately opened the door. The memory goes, I bend down towards the crawl space. Boom. I am in this huge, unimaginably and improbably sized room, built like a cathedral. The room must be like half a football field in size. I could not fathom it. As improbable as this room was, being this was at the top of the building, my 6-year-old mind thought nothing of it. In this room, there were 2 windows on the right side, which in the center had 3 steps leading up to a podium of sorts. The 2 windows that were around this podium resemble what you would see in houses from London in the early 1900s. Glass/cathedral window stylish. Then all the way down, at the other end of the room, was this single, massive bed, a door beside it. For some reason, I did not want to explore. I did not want to take another step into the room. I was a bit scared by the sheer size and emptiness of it. I can't recall if the room was black, carpeted black, and the walls painted black, or if it was some sort of brick. So I looked back towards the crawlspace, and the next memory I have is standing outside of it, rushing to get my mom as my dad was out of work to show her what I had found. I remember she came, climbed up the stairs, and I showed her the crawlspace. I can't recall her going into it or not, but my memory is she immediately locked it and said to never speak of what I'd seen and to never come to this part of the house ever again. To this day, I still dream of that room and think back on that memory all these years later, wondering what the fuck I had stumbled into. If it was some portal into the late 1800s, the early 1900s, or if I saw something traumatic and that was my 6-year-old mind's way of just coping with it. When we were kids, we used to go out to my aunt's ranch in rural central Wyoming. She owned 2,000 acres of high plains, pick is kinda similar, that she inherited from her adopted father. The Mormon trail ran right through the property, so occasionally she would get crazy fun days who asked permission to go through her property on pilgrimages or something like that. But other than that, it was rural. Like, the nearest town was a single bar/restaurant and a general store that was smaller than most people's living rooms, and that was a 45-minute drive away. The nearest medical clinic/hospital was a 3.5-hour drive, mostly back roads. All of the surrounding property was empty, except for occasional cattle drivers. This place used to be home to some tribe of Native Americans. I'm ashamed that I don't know the name, but the evidence was abundant. Near the rivers, we frequently found arrowheads, and there were indentations in the plains, still, of ancient fire pits and building outlines from where they used to have settlements. One night in July, we were sitting on the porch, and seemingly out of nowhere, a huge thunderstorm appeared on the horizon. It came at us incredibly fast, and the temperature dropped drastically. The entire sky was filled with lightning, and because the plains were so flat, everywhere you looked was filled with blue/purple clouds and lightning. The thunder was overwhelming. We did not lose power, but the craziest thing was the noise. We all heard it. Drums and chanting between the thunderclaps. It was as clear as day. It was human voices, singing or chanting and whooping, coming from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. And the drums were steady and tribal. It was not loud, but it was audible without much effort. We all kinda looked around like it was a joke, but it kept going on for about 10 minutes before the storm started to let up. I have no idea what it was. My aunt told us that people had seen ghost riders on the plains before, but she had not ever experienced anything like the chanting. I am working the graveyard shift at a mall in Portland. I am a fucking janitor. I'm right out of high school too. I am kind of a pothead at the time, smoking spliffs in the smoking section outside the mall, leaving the exit door propped open. I decide to try finding an area inside the mall where I can smoke. There are long corridors behind the stores, making it easier for the trash guy to pick up the trash and cardboard. Through some of the corridors lead staircases that lead to roof access and storage rooms. I keep checking doors until I find one unlocked. Luckily, it goes to the roof. I am scoping out the place and smoking a special cigarette. There is a ledge that leads up to the Cheesecake factory roof, which is a lot higher up than all of the others. Upon closer inspection, there were Sharpie writings on the ledge. Just stuff like, Josh was here, A+S forever, P-Town represent, etc. Finally, I read one that makes me stop. It says, I am sorry, Mom. I am so weak. Please forgive me. I get goosebumps, and being high up did not exactly help. As far as I know, no one jumped. No one took their own lives at the mall. I start telling people about it. A few months later, I mention the story at a camping trip. My buddy swears up and down he knows who wrote it. Apparently, there was a black kid who worked at the Cheesecake factory. He had some kind of disease and was put on dialysis. He was on dialysis for 4 years in total and was getting scared that he would never find a donor. He finally took his own life at a jogging trail close by to the apartments that I lived in. I went back up to that rooftop every night after that to smoke and talk to him. I wish the story ended on a better note. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. This happened in Peru. There is a story in my village in the Andes. 20 years ago, there was this family that grew vacunas. They were poor, so the kid had to help them sometimes. One day, the mother left her boy alone because she was tired and needed some rest. That same day, the boy vanished. 15 years later since that day, he returned to the village and lives near me. Now, you have to consider that this is an 8-year-old boy that was on a cold mountain, and this is his story. He was taking care of the vacunas when some kind of being appeared. It looked like a child, but old, with wrinkles all over his face, those were his words, not mine, and dressed with a simple chulo and poncho. The being introduced himself as a leprechaun, a duende, and started asking him questions. He would ask things like, how old are you? Why are you here? Where are your parents? And finally, if he was bored. The kid answered all the questions because he saw no harm in doing so. And the last one he said, yes, I am indeed bored. The duende grinned and took out a bag full of gold rings. The being counted to 101 gold coins. The being gave 50 coins to the kid and took 50 himself and placed one to the side. He said that they were going to play betting the rings, and that if the kid won, every single one of the rings would be his. The kid agreed and started playing with him, one different game each time. Hours later, the kid started to hear his mother calling to him. The kid said he was sorry, but that he had to go. The leprechaun convinced him that there must be an absolute winner, and that if he puts the ring he placed at the side, he will become invisible and they can keep playing. The kid put it on. They keep playing until the kid was tired of it. He said that he does not care anymore and that he was going home. The leprechaun said that it was fine. He managed to kill a little time, and they can keep playing later anyway. He took all of the rings except the one the kid used, and said that was his payment to keep him entertained. He took the kid home, and said that he must take the ring off for others to see him. The kid did, and he instantly noticed how old he had become. When he turned and wanted an explanation from the leprechaun, he was already gone. The kid looked for his mom and found her. She explained that she had not seen him for 15 years. The kid cried for hours, telling the story. Now, this guy is now almost 30 years old. He has shared this story with the little village, telling not to leave kids alone. The only proof he has of the story is the golden ring. He never wears it because he feels if he did, he would see the leprechaun by his side, and the leprechaun would want to keep playing. Now, this is a shame, but when I was offered to wear it, I refused because I was way too afraid of it. But this is the story X. At the time, a creepy Indonesian kid had just started coming to our school. He did not speak much English, and we didn't really either. It was kinda hard to communicate, but we thought he didn't have anything interesting to say anyway. We were wrong. He was very religious and had some weird amulets. He always carried a crystal with him and a golden necklace with a shape of a god with a weird name. He used to say weird things to us like, "Human beings disgust me." We just ignore it. The school trip is finally here. Everyone gets on the bus and we are all really excited. He is sitting alone looking at the crystal and mumbling stuff in Indonesian. Turns out, he is going to be sleeping in the same bedroom as me. Fuck. We start teasing him and saying we are going to put peanut butter on his face while he is asleep. Then he gets all serious and says, I cannot be disturbed in my sleep, because that is when I connect to my ancestors. He shows us his crystals. My ancestors' souls live in here. Law, look at the idiot kid. We tell everyone all about it. He is mad as fuck. He says he is going to conjure his ancestors to haunt us. We laugh some more. It's the first night. We're going to sleep. He leaves the bedroom. He does not come back until morning. I still don't know where he slept. The next day we go and explore the forest. There is a voodoo doll hanged in one of the trees. Not related, but still creepy. Friends claim they saw ghosts various times. I have not seen one myself, so I can't tell if he was bullshitting us or not. At the end of the trip, he moved back to Indonesia, and we never heard of him ever again. I've told this story a few times around this board, but why not tell it again? Be me. I dream one day about me and my cousin going to the forest near my house, as we always do when she's over, just for talking and shit. Happen to find an old industrial place with a lake in the near. There is a huge grey stone in the middle of the lake. We watch it. A small, greyish figure crawls out of the water. It has no face. It's half of a meter long. It's grey. It starts to attack me. It develops a face and somehow is now taller than me. I am a 6'1" dude. A face of a devil with such a grin which gives me right now the nope when thinking about it. My cousin disappears and I faint. I see a window which points to the forest in the middle of the night open. And, note, at this point, I did not know about creepypastas, so there is no way for imagination and shit. Fast forward a few months. Visit the same cousin in Austria with family. A week passes by. We go into the city and spend an hour there. Sky gets darker, and we decide to walk home. See something really far away in the distance on the mountain. It's a tall, white greyish figure on the highest and most dangerous spot, just sitting there. I don't know why, but it seemed like it was waving his left leg, like really frantically. My brother and cousins see it as well. We decide to take photos and proceed to walk. See now the mountain from another direction. Seems like it's now 3 figures, not just 1 figure. We walk home and act chill as fuck, but we are noping internally because I felt watched whenever I was in the bathroom. The house is on the beginning of a mountain, and the window points to the road up there. Be me. I am walking down the road into town, so I can actually enjoy some internet. I pass by a shrine. Out of habit, I stop to pay my respects and shit. You know, say thanks for providing good harvest to my grandpa. Some other guy walks by and pretty much just scorns me. He even goes as far as to fucking spit on the shrine of the Alux. I start freaking out and clean it up immediately. I get called by him, pretty much, a superstitious asshole. I shake my head some and keep walking my way. The entire time that I'm walking, I can see movement far in the tree line. There is legitimate movement in the foliage, like there's something kind of running through the leaves. The douche guy is still far ahead of me. The douche guy assumes it's some kind of wild dog. He starts cussing at the bush and kicking rocks and hoping of scaring whatever was there away. The rock is fucking chucked right back at this dude at full force. We hear some giggling and some garbled speech. The douche guy flips his shit and runs into the brush with a machete raised. I hear him scream. Shit just went down. I run after the dude. My face went. The dude tripped on a very fucking huge root. My face went. The dude landed in a huge pile of cow shit. My face went. The cow shit is mainly smeared all over his mouth. My face went. There is what sounds to be hissing nearby. I nope the fuck out and run, because jungle snakes do not fuck around. As I am running away, I hear what sounds like lots of movement, like multiple whatevers running through the tree line. I hear a high-pitched shouting. It's a lot of noise that reminds me of war cries. I saw the dude again a few days later, paying really hard respects to the shrine. When I was 16 years old, a crazy old homeless lady had posted up shop in the woods with little regard for other people's property. My mom was the first person to encounter her, working night shift. She usually left closer to midnight. She started backing her car out of the driveway when this woman came walking behind her from the backyard. My mom got out and had some words, but the woman did not even acknowledge her and just kept moving. This happened every night for 3 months, and the same thing every single time, even with my dad, who is like 6'3" and 250 pounds. They just did not exist in her world. One night, I had come home from working at the Cheesecake place across the street. My dad asked me to feed and water her 2 German shepherds. I walked out and opened the gate to their kennels. It was quite spacious and mostly grass for the animal lovers, but they had not come up to me like they would normally do. I shrugged it off and grabbed their food bowls, turned around, and she was standing in the gateway, just staring at me. Me, being the idiot teenager, started cussing and yelling at her to go away. She took a step towards me, wearing an entire yellow suit of rain gear, with long dirty fingernails, barely any teeth, crazy matted hair with leaves, and dirt and who knows what, and I shit you not, a Winnie the Pooh backpack. I told her, get the fuck out of here, you need to go fuck off, etc. Then she actually says something. Well, she whispers. She is whispering, it's in the woods, over and over until she finally stops and just walks away, like I did not exist, like she did with my parents. About a week later, my best friend and I went into the woods because exploring was a pretty big hobby of ours, despite all the weird shit. My parents had not seen her since my incident with her, and neither had any of our neighbors. After about 2 hours of hiking around, we actually stumbled across her little shanty. The weirdest thing was, there was no trace of fire or food being consumed in the vicinity. So it's been about 10 years since I was last here. Do people still talk about paranormal experiences, or is it all just magic and cryptids now? Because I need to vent. Pick related, by the way. I moved to Japan to teach English this last summer. The Northern Island, way out in the boonies. I was blown away to find out that the temporary teaching housing was a 4-room, 2-story house. I asked my supervisor, why such a big house? Especially when I learned that regular teacher housing are basically a series of duplex buildings next to the school. He just kind of laughed uncomfortably and said, don't worry, that comes in later. So, it has been months since I moved in now, and nothing crazy has happened. Life out here is pretty boring/lonely. There is exactly one person under age 30 and over age 18 here, and it is me. This is also important because no one has been on the second floor of my house. Only a few workers on the first floor when my water heater needed replacing. Nothing crazy has happened, but in retrospect, there have been a few things worth mentioning. The house is old and creaky and whatnot, a bit creepy overall, but I have never been easily creeped out. That said, for some reason, the second floor always puts me on edge, especially the hallway. I cannot walk down that hallway without feeling a really intense urge to check behind me. I knew it was strange that I felt this way, but I chalked it up to moving to a new country by myself. It never went away though. Another thing that is really off and on, only 3 times in summer, and I am now wondering how to even explain it. I will be wandering through the house, doing something or other, and I will hear a really loud sound, just a flash of it. It is always surprising enough to stop me in my tracks, but the weird part is that I can never actually remember what I heard. I can't put words to the sound in any way, because I can't think of it clearly. It's a bit unnerving, but I would just assume it was something weird outside, which is still possible, I guess. Here is the last bit that kind of set me off. Winter in northern Japan is actually a hell of a lot colder than you would think, and Japanese houses built before 1980 were literally built without insulation, because development companies were just building Southern-style buildings, a style that does not have to worry about the cold. I found out the hard way that in my bedroom and the entire second floor will almost always be something like 5 to 6 degrees Celsius when I go to bed, because another Japanese thing is, what is central heating? I bought a space heater for my bedroom, as well as a humidifier, and I have gotten into the habit of running upstairs an hour before bed to turn them both on, so I can at least start my night warm and comfortable. By the time I get up there, the entire upstairs is warmer, and the windows fog up from the heat/humidity. You might have guessed what my picture means by now. Last week, I went upstairs to go to sleep, and genuinely almost pissed myself. That handprint in the condensation was not there until that day. I compared it to my own hand, and the handprint is much smaller. I was so uncomfortable. I took this picture to send to my friends and joke about a ghost in my house, just to alleviate my own unease. I am very aware that handprints that were already there could appear when the window fogs up, and it's possible that maybe I missed it like 3 weeks in a row. But it's almost impossible because that window is right at the top of the stairs, and it is the first thing I see when I get near the top. This is where I decided I finally needed to get this off of my chest. I ran into my neighbor when I was shoveling snow the other day and asked her if she knew anything about the previous residents. I knew that I was the first foreign teacher to live there, but that is all I knew. My neighbor is super chill and told me jokingly about how no one had lived in this house since she moved to the neighborhood 7 years ago, and that it's basically understood to be haunted. I pressed her for more info on that, since it was basically the confirmation of my unfounded fears, but she had nothing. She said not to worry about it, it's just superstitious old people, which is what I would have assumed too. This also explains how cheap the house would have been for the school district to buy, and the odd reaction of my supervisor when I asked about it. So, here I am. I'm not expecting help, I just really needed to say it. I don't have anyone else I could talk to about this. I am just uncomfortable.